Hello, good evening and welcome back once again to In the Know, the Royal Ascot preview show brought to you by the Racing Post. And Coral, 2 days down, 3 days to go. And what a fascinating Wednesday it's been when punters fell in love with love all over again. Quick Susie lived up to her name. Frankie Dettori had 7 rides and won on the biggest price one of the lot. And it turns out there is a huge bias at Ascot, and it is on the rail. It just depends which race on which rail. So that is the big headlines for today at Royal Ascot. And tomorrow, of course, we've got the Ascot Gold Cup, and what a race we will be looking forward to. Stradivarius bidding to emulate Yates and win 4 on the bounce, but he has his toughest field to date to line up against. And if you thought today was pretty difficult, well, tomorrow there are 130 runners currently declared for those races, 2 more than ran today, and there is a deluge forecast overnight. So if you haven't found any winners on Tuesday or Wednesday, again, it's going to get even tougher. But if you're still up to the challenge, well, we're going to try and find a winner or two for you, or maybe a second on one side and a winner on the other. Who knows? My name's Ross Brierley. I'll be taking you through the 7 races on Thursday in the company of a top tipping team. It is live and interactive, as we say, so please do get in touch on YouTube in particular. That live chat box is where we pick our comments from. Like and subscribe to the stream. And also, if you're watching on Facebook, like as well. And maybe follow us on Twitter. Why not go for the whole shebang? And don't forget, of course, if you are not a Racing Post member yet, we're giving you the chance to get 50% off for those first 3 months if you use the code In the Know. That's pretty much all you need to know then, as we introduce our panel once again for the evening. And as ever, to my left, Mr. Paul Kealy is here. And as I said, Paul, it was easy. You just back whatever's drawn the highest or the lowest. That's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, wish someone had told the jockeys that before they, early in the meeting, because I mean nobody tried the far side until the Hunt Cup, did they? I mean, nobody went over there at all. I mean, in that Duchess of Cambridge Stakes or Duke of Cambridge Stakes, whatever it is, they all went down the middle and left it to Frankie to come up the stand side and win on a rag. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, look, the start of the meeting, if you looked at the going stick readings, it told you far side, near side, not the middle.
Yeah.
Like, it told you plain and simple, and they all went down the middle. Nobody tried the far side at all. Now they've tried it. There probably isn't much between the two sides. I mean, I think Real World would have won the Hunt Cup wherever he was, possibly even in the middle. He won it that easy. And obviously, we were a bit unlucky with Dig 2, weren't we? But
let's not talk about that. But that's all I can think of.
He was second, and that was that was quite a comfortable winner of that side as well. Like, you know what I mean? So I think either side is fine. I think they will shun the middle. I mean, every time we get a big field straight track race now, we're going to have 2 races for the price of 1, aren't we?
We are indeed. Paul Key then will be hoping, though, to overcome those frustrations and find some winners on day 3, as will Tom Segal at home. Tom, as I said, it was a fascinating day. What did you make of proceedings? What did you make of the Prince of Wales Stakes as a purist rather than a punter?
I think the whole thing's been sort of decided by the ground and the way the track's riding myself, Ross. I think normally, Keels would agree that when you get to those round track races, normally it's quite a big advantage being drawn wide, actually, because you get a clear run up the straight. But no horse has been able to come up the middle and catch one of those round races. We saw it in the last race against Day, the front runner, the first 2, David Lockman's pair. Nothing could get past them. We've seen it all week, that being drawn high hasn't been easy to overcome in those round field races. So I think there's been draw biases floating around on, all over the place. Where they're going to be after rain is anyone's guess. But look, it's been great. I've really enjoyed it. Managed to find Quick Susie, which sort of paid for yesterday and kept my nose in front. So look, we'll crack on again tomorrow, and hopefully they don't get the amount of rain they say they're going to get, because if they do, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, you took Quick Susie, of course. Dig 2, we all fancied, and he won his side. And Paul had the Coventry winner as well. I think we should just scrap the rest and concentrate on the juveniles, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they're the race. I always find them the easiest races anyway, because I think the disparity in ability between the horses is massive. As Keels pointed out yesterday, half of them I haven't got any chance. Whether I could have found Chipotle, I doubt I would have in 30 goes. But I do think they give you a good chance, because I think all the horses are in the same sort of boat, aren't they? And if you can cotton on to a Berkshire Shadow or a Quick Susie, you're getting big prices in races which you really only got 3 or 4 that can win.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see how that works out for the rest of the days. Of course, we've got the Norfolk, the Albany, and the Chesham to come for those juveniles. Head of PR over at Coral, David Stevens. I'm sure you've had a wonderful day today, but it might well have something to do with the shirt hanging behind you more than the racing results.
Good evening, Ross. Good evening, gents. Yeah, mixed emotions. I mean, when you work for a bookmaker, that's what happens. You worry about how the firm's doing, but of course, secretly, all you really care is about your own punting. And one of those days, the firm's done very well. I mean, punters obviously felt the love. I thought she was a big price considering Lord North came out. Plenty of punters did keep the faith with her, but Real World was a cracking result, despite some late money in the Hunt Cup. And Indie Girl, one of those rare things, a Frankie Dettori winner at Ascot that bookmakers cheered. So from a personal point of view, Dig 2 was as good as it got. So that tells the story of my day. But yeah, thankfully, I may have lost the Welsh accent, but I've still got the valleys in me. So well done, Wales, for cheering me up.
Yeah,
absolutely. What was the score, Dave? Just out of interest.
Well, you told me it finished 2-0, but I had to turn my telly off at the start of this.
I told you the score.
There we go.
It's because I'm a professional preparing for this.
Preparing for this by making sure that shirt is hanging nicely over the picture behind you. Gents, let's just quickly wrap up today. Of course, Love, I thought it was a cracking ride. We said before, or it might have been you or somebody else said to me in the office, you think Ryan will go out and make it on Love and make it, suit her style rather than her rivals, and it seemed to.
Well, I think Tom said one of them will do it, and if it wasn't going to be Armour, it was Love, wasn't it? And he almost certainly set the right fractions. I mean, I think it was it's a perfectly good start, isn't it? You never expect, even at the top level, Aidan O'Brien's horses to be 100% first time out, do you? So, she's now won Group 1s at a mile 2, and a mile and 4. Like, you can't really knock her, can you?
No, absolutely. And Tom, given connections and their history in the race, did we see a possible St Ledger winner today?
It's possible. Is he a gelding? I can't remember. Is he allowed to run in the St Ledger? I can't remember.
He is a gelding, yeah, of course he is, yeah.
So no is the answer to that one. No, the answer to that one.
I meant Wordsworth.
Yeah. Well, I was, yesterday I tipped Kyprios, and did you see the money for Kyprios? I think that was the fancied one today, and obviously he went through the stalls, so we didn't get a good look at him. I'm hoping he can still be a good horse. I've still got high hopes for him.
Okay, very well. Well, let's crack on then with day 3 of Royal Ascot. As we said, there are weather warnings, thunderstorms abound, and just nipped out before the show, and you could feel the weather about to change. So how much rain we get and just how much that affects the ground at Ascot, it does look like it's going to be significantly worse overnight tomorrow. So Friday could be proper soft ground action. But we'll see how we go. We might have to do 2 preview shows here, one on potentially good to firm and one on potentially good to soft in places here. But we'll kick on and hope that it doesn't affect it too much. As we start off with the Norfolk, again, we're talking about the juveniles, and a fast and furious 5 furlongs kicks us off tomorrow with Cadamosto and Lucci at the top of the betting for that opener at 9-2. Nakatomi is 15-2, 8-1 Instinctive Move, 10-1 Project Dante, 11-1 Go Bears Go and Second Wind, and Adrius Vesalius at 12-1, and the bigger prices the rest here. So a decent field currently, 16 of them lining up. You've got a couple of American raiders, of course, from the Wesley Ward stable in there as well, albeit they haven't necessarily performed very well this season. We've got Cadamosto as well at the top of the betting here, Paul, a horse who has probably been a non-runner more times than the rest of the field have actually lined up combined.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? Temperature, unsuitable ground, but, unsuitable ground, yielding, soft. There's a worry. I mean, it's one of those things. We're genuinely in the dark, because even an hour ago, you look at 2 different websites. One was forecasting 1.4 millimetres and another one was forecasting 27. You know what I mean? So it's all up in the air. We don't know. But I'd imagine they may, if they get a load of rain, they might want to take them out again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, so we are. Well, let's. I don't know how are we gonna play.
Right. Well, I approached this. I came very close to tipping Lucci for Wesley Ward, and then I decided I'm not going to, because I don't really know enough about him. But we did a podcast on last week, Watch Out podcast last week, and we had him on. And I said to him, if you remember Acapulco, when she won at Royal Ascot a few years ago, they all saying she looked like a 4-year-old in the paddock. She was huge and all that. So I said to him, which one's going to stand out in the paddock? And he said it would be Lucci. And I went and watched his run on a replay, and he is a fair size of a horse. And the other thing about him is he actually got challenged. He didn't just have a race where he was long odds on and beat nothing by 9.5 lengths. He had a horse pester him as well, and he went away from him. The winning time, I don't know anything about times in America, but I looked at all the horses that Wesley Ward had sent to Ascot, having started at Belmont rather than at Keenan on 4.5 over dirt. And there's about 10 of those, and he's miles faster than any of those. Only problem is none of those made trouble to judge at Royal Ascot. So, who knows? But I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up being the best one.
Okay, Lucci then could well be the best one. Currently, in fact, 92 clear favourite for the Norfolk. There is another Wesley Ward runner, Tom, and I imagine if you're a die-hard Wesley Ward fan, you'd be going with Nakatomi.
Very good. You are good, son. This is getting better every day, Ross. I don't know where to start.
That was very niche, but I knew you'd. I'm just challenging you, Tom, because you're the only one who cares about these terrible one-liners. But what did you make of this race? Because you've been doing so well on the 2-year-old events this week.
I like it. I mean, obviously we've got the doubts about the ground, but the Wesley Ward's horses have been well beat, haven't they? I mean, Lucci might be the best, but I thought this was quite a good race. I like 2 in this, but the one I really like is Project Dante for Brian Smart. Trap 16, nearest the stands rail. Might be bad, might be good. Lucci's in 11, so he'll definitely get a lead over there. Second, third, fourth and fifth out of the York race have won. The time was very good, and Brian Smart had the second in this race a few years ago, and I don't know if you saw it, but in the Dig 2 race, or I shouldn't mention that, in the Chipotle race, Brian Smart settled the 4th from trap 17, 66 to 1 shot, Bond Chairman, and I know Project Dante's a good bit better than him. And so I just think it's going to run really well, Project Dante. I think the other one, Go Bears Go, is a good breeze-up horse, won at the track. He could go well too. I've got to take on the Wesley Ward horses now. I get that Lucci might be the one, and last year we all thought they were rubbish, and then he went and won the Queen Mary and the one nearly won this race, didn't it? Got caught on the line in this race by the Learjet. But I think Project Dante is probably quite a good bet in this. He's by Showcasing, whose horses like soft ground. He's obviously shown he acts on good ground, but his sister Applauded ran 7th in the Queen Mary or the Coventry last year. I just think everything's right about it. It was a big punt on its debut up at York, given the name, and I think he's going to run really well. So I'm quite keen on Project Dante.
Yeah, I hope you're right, because with the rain forecast, I've had a nibble on this one, and the horse who finished second in that race as well, Tom, Corker, who was completely outpaced in that York race and rattled home. And again, that's an Ascot-style finish, isn't it? It
is very much so. I mean, as you say, that I think that's really strong form. The Time Boys will tell you that. I think he's tipped by Top Speed tomorrow. He obviously doesn't have Paul's Belmont figures by him, otherwise he probably wouldn't be tipped by Top Speed. But I don't think the rest of them are brilliant by any stretch of the imagination. I thought Go Bears Go was quite good, but I think if the Wesley Wards don't come up to scratch, I think he'll win. Okay, very well. There we go then. Project Dante is a 7-1 shot. Go Bears Go, the other one Tom mentioned, is a 10-1 shot. If it does go particularly soft in terms of pedigrees, our dads had quite a few soft ground winners so far, and plenty of 2-year-olds. So Perfect Power could be of interest as well. And Cadamosta's a strange one, because No Nay Never has a fantastic record with his juveniles in soft ground, yet he was pulled out because of it. So, David, this could be a bit of a nightmare for punters for that first race. The weather, obviously, playing a big factor, but it hasn't stopped them back in a few of these. No, including the one that Tom or a couple there that Tom's mentioned, and yourself. Project Dante's already into 7-1 from 9-1 earlier today. Go Bears Go clipped in as well. Like David Loughnane, obviously a 1-2 in the last. That wouldn't have helped that. And Corker, the one you mentioned there, is 20 into 14s. But this has changed really in the last sort of 24, 48 hours, because it wasn't long ago that Lucci and Nakatomi were sort of 4-1 and 6-1 first and second favourite. But Wesley Ward drew another blank today. Do you take the view that they're just not up to par this year? Or, he rarely leaves empty-handed, and Lucci or Nakatomi might be the one. So we're sticking with those two Wesley Ward horses for our first enhanced price boost of the evening. Because they have eased in price, we were going to do them to be first and second in either order. But as I say, a bit of a market switch up. So now either
Lucci and Nakatomi, or if they both finish in the first three, I should say, it was 6-1 out to 8-1. So for those still keeping the faith with Wesley Ward, 8-1 that they finish in the first three, his pair.
Okay, there we go. The two Wesley Ward runners then to finish in the first three. Lucci and Nakatomi, 8-1 out from 6-1. We've got a social comment in here for the Norfolk Stakes. See who we've got. It's Kinky Cadet back once again. I'm back in Go Bears Go. Dave Loughnane is red hot. Yeah, absolutely. Remarkable result in that last race today. A 1-2 for the yard. So that is the Norfolk Stakes. And just one more to mention before we move on is Little Earl. Of course, we've saw that Ibro River form being given a couple of boosts this week. He looks a very big prize potentially for Robert Cowell, who had the second in the King's Stand the other day. Wide open, as you would expect for the Norfolk. Paul, your selection?
I'll go Lucci, but I haven't backed him.
All right, very well. Tom?
I'll go Project Dante, and I have backed him.
Okay. And I'll go Project Dante and Corker, and I have backed them as well. David?
I'm going to stick with Wesley Ward. He's done me okay over the years, and I'm not writing him off just yet. Lucci for me, of his two.
Very well. Lucci for the Norfolk Stakes. Lucci currently at 9-2, half a point shorter than Cadamosto in the market for the Norfolk Stakes. That's the opener tomorrow then. Moving on to the 3:05 here, as the prices appear on my screen for the Hampton Court Stakes. Currently 10 runners, but again, given that the favourite here was pulled out at Epsom because of the ground. Could we see a real market shake-up tomorrow? It is certainly possible, as Mohafeth is a 7-4 favourite here for the Haggis and Crowley combination. Moving time 100-30, One Ruler 11-2, Roman Empire 13-2, Snap Retaria is 8-1, the Rostafarian 12, Secret Protector 20s with Pythagoras, and bigger prices the rest. David, going to come to you first because Jim obviously is a Coral ambassador, and of course this horse could have a huge effect on the market if they do the same as they did only a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to get down to Jim's and film with him ahead of the Derby. That didn't pan out quite so well. And I did likewise ahead of Royal Ascot. And Jim said at Epsom he was like a player putting his boots on, ready for the Champions League final, only to be told by his manager that he wasn't in the starting 11. That's how disappointed he was. Obviously, Mohafeth, but the rain on Oaks, they ruined that. Oh, the irony. If again, we just don't know how much rain Ascot's going to get. But this horse is 7-4 from 11-8 because, you know, we're looking at the forecast and punters are backing others against Mohafeth. So, yeah, look, it's hard to have a strong opinion given the weather. But if he runs, I mean, the way he won that listed race at Newmarket ahead of Epsom, it was like he just dropped into it. So he's clearly a very talented horse, but the rain could come and scupper it. And of the others, obviously, Moving Time. He beat Kamari last time. That one's come out and Frank the form. And One Ruler be our first sort of chance to have a look at the Derby form. So they're the two they're back in, given that Mohafeth is not a certain runner, albeit it'll be a big deduction at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. 7-4 currently then, Mohafeth. Speaking of One Ruler, he's, like I said, representing that Derby form. A couple of horses over the past few years running the Derby, got well beat and won this Hunting Horn and Pisco Sour in the past 10 years. And I think you might be quite sweet on Charlie Appleby and William Buick's charge here.
Yeah, I'm sweet on him whether Mohafeth runs or not. I don't like Mohafeth's form of that race at Newmarket when he won. Yes, he won very easily, but you know the second favourite who's in here, Secret Protector, was beaten at halfway, right? And the horse was beaten at halfway, you know, in a mile race, right? There's something wrong. Like, you know what I mean? And the other two weren't all that. So I'm not buying that level of form at all. And obviously they're going to look really stupid if it goes good to soft and they run him and he bolts up, aren't they? And are really stupid. Like, you know, having taken him out of ground that was only just on the soft side of good at Epsom on the Saturday. So it'd be interesting to see what they do if the rain comes, but I can't have him anyway. And Moving Time, it seems to have been smashed up because he beat Kamari. But Moving Time was having his third run of his life, and Kamari was having his first. Right? He didn't beat the Kamari that's just won the King's Vase. He beat an inexperienced maiden, who hadn't run before. So on the actual figures, he's got an absolute ton to find. Well, I know it doesn't mean he won't find it, but I mean, I oppose those sort of horses at that sort of price every single day of the week. Like, you know what I mean? You just can't have it.
Again, I mean, he's currently 100-30, but I mean, his 2-year-old form, he's finished second to a Dubai.
Oh, yeah, it's fair horse.
So
yeah. I know. It's fair form.
It's
fair form. I mean, Mithras isn't a bad horse either. He was always second to that. So yeah, it's fair form. But we're talking about Papa Goose, and you're talking about a horse here with form with 2 Guineas winners. Obviously ran in the Guineas himself. He finished 6th. Now, we know that was a good guineas because Poetic Flair's come out, run okay in France, only just got beat by Max Sweeney in Ireland and absolutely gagged up the other day. And Lucky Vega, who was third in the guineas, was second. So we know that form's good. One Rule is then running the Derby. And, you know, the one thing to know about the Godolphin late money, right, he was backed as well. Right, lots of money from her. I didn't see him going off a single figure price for the Derby, but he did. And obviously, Adayar got the money. The thing that won today got the money as well, the late money. One Ruler didn't. Why didn't he? Well, one, he might not have stayed, but you watched that race. He definitely didn't handle the track. He hated every minute. As soon as they hit the straight, he could not run in a straight line. So I'll just write that off. This is a proper group horse, official rated 112, better than everything else in the race by a mile other than Mo Harfif on the book.
And he'll like the rain as
you
well.
know, and if it rains, bang in his favour. Obviously, second to Max Sweeney in the Futurity last year. So he's a borderline Group 1 horse running in a Group 3 under a Group 3 penalty, obviously. But there's only one horse in here that's shown that he's possibly Group 3 class with him, and that's Mo Harfif. I think he's a great bet.
Right, I think that's probably one of the strongest cases for a horse I've ever heard Paul make. So, Tom.
I've made some cracking cases for the horses that have sunk like the Titanic. Don't worry about that.
No, but still, fair play. Kudos to you for the setup there. Tom, try and out-talk Keels with that one.
Well, I clearly can't out-talk him on it. I mean, I tipped it for the guineas. I mean, I'm a massive fan of the horse. Thought the Autumn Stakes form was really good. I think it's a knife edge one for him because I think he wants some rain and Mo Harfif doesn't want any rain. So if Keels' weather man comes in with 1 millimetre of rain and they haven't watered, I think might be a little bit too quick for him. I know it's not rattling fast, but I think he wants a bit of give underfoot. So that's the only doubt I've got about him. I think I like Keels. I think 6-1 is a massive price. The only other one I'd throw in there, and simply because I think he's going to get the run of the race, is Roman Empire for Aidan O'Brien, who in the Dante last time, all the world looked like he was going to win 2 furlongs from home. He was miles clear. And obviously Hurricane Lane came out and franked the form. I think they thought High Definition is a very good horse, obviously, as well in there. And he didn't get home, but that was on sort of testing ground when he was ridden really, really prominently. I think if he gets the lead from stall 2, which I think he will do, and we've seen what happens at this track this week. It's been hard to get round horses that get a nice, easy lead on the front on the rail there. I think he'd go well. So while I'm against Mo Harfif, I don't understand why Move in Time is the price he is, exactly as Keel said. I think One Ruler and Roman Empire, is it?
Roman Empire.
Yeah, Roman Empire are the 2 I would be on. I'd slightly prefer Roman Empire, but I could easily see One Ruler winning easily.
Okay, very well. One Ruler is currently an 11-2 shot. Roman Empire is currently a 13-2 shot. And if it does rain, of course, it completely throws this market cock a hoop. The favourite might well be out, and then it brings in the likes of Snap Rotarian, the Rostafarian, and I thought Pythagoras, if it really tips down as well, could appreciate the conditions as well. So the Hampton Court could be made by the facts of the weather and whether Mo Harfif turns up. But if things go to plan, One Ruler and Roman Empire for the boys in the studio for the Hampton Court Stakes. David, what did you make of this race? What wins the Hampton Court?
Well, yeah, obviously taking into account the rain, I hope the rain stays away and we get to see Mo Harfif run at least. But having listened to the case Keels there made, now I'm sitting on my sofa and I'm literally putting the hand down the side, seeing any loose change I can get together because, Keels, this thing's past the post, the case. I love it. I've had two bad days, but you fill me with confidence. So One Ruler, it's got to be.
Thanks, mate, but I don't want somebody as unlucky as you bocking it. Can you not back it, please?
The fair point, well made.
There we go. Well, nothing more to say on that race then. Best to move on to the Ribblesdale. We have 13 of them currently lining up for the Group 2 fillies. The favourite for the Ribblesdale is Noon Star. Speaking of horses who swerved Epsom despite being well fancied at 5-2. Divinely is 4-1. Gloria Mundi is 9-2. Eshada is 6-1. Twisted Reality is 7-1. Dubai Fountain at 10s, and then a big jump out to Annaville at 18s and Ad Infinitum at 20-1. This race normally dominated by O'Brien or Gosden, but is Sir Michael Stout with a beautifully bred daughter of Galileo who heads the market here. And Tom, I had a good anti-post bet on her for the Oaks. I thought she had every chance, and given the way that Snowfall bolstered up, I thought she might well have hit the frame, but they've decided to swerve Epsom, of course, and it might well have been a half-decent decision, but on paper, she's a cracking animal.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, pedigree-wise, she's different class, and she Galileo at a midday. I'm not sure that they'd swerved it on purpose. I think she might have had a slight hold up before the start of before Epsom, so that's why she missed it. And that's the only thing that puts me off her here. Don't like horses with dodgy preparations running in any race, let alone one at Royal Ascot. And that's the only thing I've got against her. I think on the form book she split the first and second in the Oaks and got closer to Snowfall than anything else did. Didn't she, at Epsom? So I think she's quite rightly the right favourite. Once again, though, she's trap 8. Is she going to get the run of the race? I think it's a very, if the track rides like it has been, it's very hard to do, I think. And I would be more interested in a couple. Nicest, who is the other O'Brien filly. This one's Donica. I thought she could go well at a big price. But the one I like is right down the bottom, Twisted Reality for Rafe Beckett. At the start of the season, she was definitely the Oaks filly for the Kipco mob, and they ran the other one which finished down the field that Hugo Palmer trained. But I thought she ran a really interesting race at Newbury behind Eshada and Gloria Mundi, which I think might be the sort of form link into this race, because I don't think it's a very good, very strong race if Noon Star doesn't turn up. And I thought she was desperate for a mile and a half. Now she might want a bit of cut in the ground, so obviously we'd like some rain for her, but I think she's been trained for this race. Rafe Beckett's very good with his fillies. She's been trained for this race, not for Epsom. She's come here with this being her target since the start of the season, and I think she's going to go really well at a decent price. So I'm on Twisted Reality in this, but I could have it, judging because I know the form doesn't say she's really good enough to win it.
Yes, Twisted Reality. Yeah, I made a note on one note on that race, Tom, and that was that she was the one to take out of it. She was isolated on that far side. She looked like she was going nowhere, just plugging up and down on the spot, and she suddenly went past a couple of horses. So yeah, that was her seasonal reappearance, so she should definitely come on for that. Of course, that form is represented by Gloria Mundi, by Eshada, by Aristia at bigger prices as well. So there's a lot of overlapping form lines here, Paul.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, look, 24 hours ago, Eshada was 4-1, Gloria Mundi was 6-1, Twisted Reality was 14-1. And now Gloria Mundi's 9-2, Eshada's 6-1, and Twisted Reality is 7-1. I mean, the winner is 6-1. Now, she was just as promising. She's only had 2 starts in her life. She's shaped like she's going to stay forever. She might be by a champion sprinter, Muhara, but he gets a fair amount of stayers. And his best horse is Alba Flora, who won a mile-and-a-half listed race on soft ground and finished second on soft ground at Ascot, both races at Ascot. She's going to want a bit of cut, and I can't understand why she's drifted. I don't get it.
Do you think it's because the way that the inside draws on the round course are maybe favoured?
It's possible, but it could all be different if there's a lot of rain, couldn't it? We don't know, do we? I mean, you can't take anything as hard and fast these days, can you? Right. So I would, if Twisted Reality was still 14s, but I think Tom's already ruined the price, obviously.
It's only minutes ago.
The one you got to oppose is Divinely, isn't it? Because all the fillies in the Oaks, other than Snowfall, were crap, weren't they? And if there aren't three fillies that could get closer than 16 lengths to Snowfall in this race, I'd be disappointed. So I'll be getting against Divinely when it comes to places.
Well, she was the one she was completely isolated down the centre of the track.
Yeah, but she didn't pick up afterwards, did she? She actually almost came alongside Snowfall at one point.
You could upgrade her a few lengths, but she'd still be heavily beaten.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. She didn't exactly see it out very well, did she? No, they were just rubbish. I mean, she's beaten a load of horses that probably barely listed class themselves. It doesn't mean Snowfall isn't a brilliant filly because she's won by 16 lengths, but the rest of them are rubbish.
Okay. And I looked at Eshada. I thought Mahara as a sire over a mile and a half. He's actually 3-year-old, 7 from 34 over a mile and a half, 21% strike rate.
It's mad, isn't it? Absolutely mad.
for a crack 6 furlong sprinter. It shows that it's not that pedigree game is probably the hardest part of the whole thing. But the pedigree game does point very much to Noon Star. As I said, a beautiful page for her, but a variety of horses shortening in the market here, David, and as Paul was suggesting, Gloria Mundi, Ashada and Twist of Reality, their prices have been chopping and changing over the past 24 hours.
Yeah, Paul has done a completely accurate guide to the betting there, so he's stolen my thunder. But I would stick with Ashada. She's only had the 2 runs. She won back end last season, then came out and won first time up at Newbury. Did surprise them a little bit that day. I know that for sure. But Jim said, look, she's just improving so quickly. And he said, don't be worried that she is by a sprinter, because obviously he rides a lot. Muhara, obviously a Shadwell stallion. And he said, look, they all stay and they stay well. So I would stick with her. I think, if you like Twisted Reality, I think you've got to fancy Ashada as well. But Noon Star, look, as someone that didn't write off the Musidora as a fluke win, and okay, I'm not going to say that I knew Snowfall was going to win the Oaks like that, but I hope Noon Star runs a big race, because I want Snowfall to be, as good as she looked at Epsom, she looks extraordinary, but I want it to sort of stack up. And a bit like One Ruler in the previous race, this is our first chance really to get a handle on the Epsom form. So Noon Star a worthy favourite, but I'm sticking with Ashada and hoping that Jim's week's and my week is going to have to be turned around at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we want to see something, don't we, that can turn up in the Yorkshire Oaks, for example, later on in the season and give Snowfall a race and make that a fascinating division. So Noon Star 5-2 favourite at Ascot, but Roger and Jim teaming up there with Ashada at 6-1. Who has drifted out a little bit. Excuse me. Social comment coming in here from Kieran Catterson, who likes the look of Gloria Mundi. A massive chance in the Ribblesdale for Frankie Dettori and John and Thady Gosden. Last 5 runnings have been won by O'Brien or Gosden, so Gloria Mundi at 9-2 definitely has a chance. And Tom Leach, Noon Star, with 3 exclamation marks. So he's very excited about his nap of the day. So that's the Ribblesdale then tomorrow. The 3rd race on the card. It is a wide open contest. Just reiterate your selections. Tom.
Yeah, I'm Twisted Reality. Just one point to make, that when they ran in that Newbury race, Ashada was 18-1, Gloria Mundi was 16-1, and Twisted Reality was 4-1. Now, obviously, they got it wrong that day, and I'm hoping they've got it wrong again this time, because I think the outsider of that, not Twisted Reality, is the one for me.
Okay, very well. She could be another sort of simple verse kind of improver.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. Okay. Twisted Reality then for Tom and Paul.
Ashada for me.
Ashada, and Ashada as well for David in the Ribblesdale. Let's move on then.
What about you? What are you going for?
I want to go for Noon Star. I just don't want to do it at the price. Like I said, I backed to double figures for the Oaks, and I thought she would have a huge chance in that. But whether I want to be smashing into something at 5-2 in this kind of contest, Tom, is another matter. But like I said, I'm with Paul. If you hadn't ruined that double figure price about Twist of Reality, I'd probably back her as well.
Sorry.
It's all right. It's fine. I'll let you off. Moving on then to the feature race of day 3. It is, of course, the Gold Cup. And what a Gold Cup we've got this year. But Stradivarius, as ever, heading the betting here at 10-11. The star stayer of the past 10 years or so is a narrow odds-on favourite ahead of Trushan at 9-2, Subjectivist at 6-1, Serpentine 10s, Spanish Mission 12s, Santiago is 18-1, Princess Zoe at 20s, Emperor of the Sun 22-1, and bigger the others. Quite a few in with chances, and fair play to David Brown for throwing Ben Lilly in at 150-1 or thereabouts for this Gold Cup. But taking Ben Lilly out of this, Tom, obviously Stradivarius is bidding to match up to Yates with that winning run in this race. But just have a look at it, the races he has won. Last year there were 2 Group 1 winners in it. The year before there were 3. There were 3 in the year before that as well. He's got 6 Group 1 winners to try and beat this year. And this looks a red-hot renewal. Yeah,
it's a totally different kettle of fish to the races he's won in the last couple of seasons. I think the first Gold Cup was a good race. But look, we're talking about a horse here that's coming off runs where he was 7th of 11 in the Arc. I know that was the Arc, but then he finished 12th of 13 here the next time. And form of his win in the Cigaro, it's hardly worked out well, has it? I mean, Henry de Bromhead's hurdler beat Ocean Wind and Nayef Road a lot easier than he did. he's clearly a wonderful horse, and I think it's the story of the whole week if he wins. But my punting head says I've got to take him on. I'm hoping there's rain because I thought Trushan was brilliant on Champions Day. Quite how anyone could sit there and say that one was, I think it was 9-1 earlier in the week, and Stradivarius was a short price. You just have to watch that race to see that Trushan is a seriously top class stayer in the making. I think he'll stay. He needs a bit of rain. Clearly, he needs a bit of rain. But I think if it rains and there's any sort of, if it's good ground, I think he's got a real shot of beating Stradivarius. I'm not that keen on subjectivist myself. I think he's got a bit to prove. I'm not one for trusting those staying races in Dubai. I think the Dubai Carnival, in a whole, is getting a hell of a lot better. But I didn't think that was a brilliant race. I think it's between the two of them. I'm in this Trushan camp. I always have been, and hopefully there's enough rain for him to do himself justice. But I think he'll win, actually.
Okay. By the looks of things, you got a lot darker in the living room there, Tom. Has the rain come already where you are?
It literally has got really dark. I'll go and put the light on when you go on to Keels.
It does look like it's you're in a Transylvanian castle or something there, but yeah, the weather must have changed quite dramatically.
I'm just round the corner and it is really dark.
Yeah. Okay. Well, give us a shout when it does start to tip down. But Trushan currently 9-2. Matt Gardner is on your side as well. He says, as good as this race is, I don't have full confidence in anything. If the rain comes, Trushan could be overpriced. I think he was double figures about 4 or 5 days ago. So the money has really come in anticipation of that weather.
Yeah, I filled my boots as well. I mean, I think he'll.
So you've ruined.
Yeah, I think he'll win as well. Yeah, I mean, you can't take anything away from Stradivarius, and he can do it on any ground. Like, you know what I mean? But he had lost his form last year because they tried to turn him into a 1.5 mile horse. And like Tom said, that return win, as good as it looked at the time, doesn't quite look so good now, which makes you worry about it. I mean, which one shows up? But he's got some real decent horses here. I mean, you've got a Derby winner, an Irish Derby winner.
Yep. You've
got Trushan, who won the Champion Stayers, absolutely stormed home by 7 odd lengths last year, looking like it would have been 107 lengths if there was another half a mile ago. And Subjectivist is no mug either. He won the Pre-Royal Oaks. It's a really, really good race. I can understand bookmakers keeping him on side. I think he'll drift those Stradivarius this time. The more rain there is, the more it will come for Trushan. I think he's got a massive chance.
Yeah, Trushan then currently a 9-2 shot, and very much in agreement to pundits. Yeah, Trushan's got to have a huge chance. I mean, we talked about subjectivists. As like you said, we've got a Derby winner here, Serpentine. Of course, it was a strange Derby last year, and he's done absolutely nothing since. Will he be is he just an obvious pace angle?
Well, he might be. He should be. You'd hope so. Did he make the run in every other time? He didn't, did he?
I'm trying to.
I don't seem to remember. I don't think he did.
No, I think he did. I mean, to be fair, I think everything went wrong for him at the last time. I don't think he did really anything.
That's right. But it's a massive. I mean, it was fourth to a Dave in the Champions Stakes, wasn't he? It wasn't that bad a run. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yes, he's a substandard Derby winner. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But he's still a talented horse. Massive unknown, though, isn't it? Obviously. Yeah. Because he's literally going up a mile. Yeah. In trip, I think Santiago actually shapes like a stronger stayer.
Yeah, and he looked fantastic in the Queen's Vase last year. Admittedly, it is the Queen's Vase. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily work out, but that was here and it was in soft ground. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, you couldn't rule him out. He hasn't run that bad in 2 runs this season. He needs to improve on them, but stamina might be his thing.
Absolutely, yeah. And Spanish Mission beat him, of course, but he won't necessarily like the rain if it comes. And what about Princess Zoe, Tom? Of course, a Cadran winner last year. She was, talk about headline grabbing. She went through the ranks. She won pretty much every race that was put in front of her. And you get the feeling that after that last year, they thought, OK, we might have a Gold Cup horse. Surely she's going to be primed for this race.
Absolutely. And any staying race with the name Mullins, whichever Mullins it is by their name, it always fills me with fear. She's got to improve because even on her French form last year, she's a bit behind a few of these. But did you hear that? That was a bit of thunder then. I can't have Serpentine. He ran the Derby winner, and he was literally legless on his comeback run. Santiago, I don't think is a stayer. I think of the Coolmore bunch, I thought Emperor of the Sun might run best of them. He was he just looks like a really dour stayer. He thrashed Santiago last time, and he would have won by another 5 lengths if even they'd gone around another half mile. So I thought he might run well at a price. But seriously, I think Trushan and Stradivarius are better than the rest. Even though they've won derbies at this trip, I think they're better than the rest. They're better than the other two, and they'd be the two for me.
Okay, David, where do you stand as a bookie on this? Because obviously, Trushan, has been heavily backed. There must have been a lot of alternative money to Stradivarius, but do his fans come out in force? Or they put in your Frankie Short prices and your pre-Royal Ascot kind of accumulators? Is he in all those bets?
Yeah, but also it's worth remembering that the Gold Cup is the biggest betting race of this week, of Royal Ascot week, and by some distance, which really does tell you that even over the flat, it's these stayers that come back year after year that capture punters' imagination. So he's won the last 3. He's won at the last 4 Royal Ascots. He's got the King of Ascot riding him. I mean, he will be, as I say, one of the best, if not the best backed horse of the week, even at the price he is now. So he's not one. I get what Keels is saying about bookies want to take him on. I mean, if there's an absolute deluge, the money will continue to come for Trushan. But he just turns up year after year and he does it. And again, I hear everything they're saying. It's a better race this year. But Tom said it. I mean, Serpentine, Santiago, yeah, they're 1.5 mile Group 1 winners. But this is a different fish altogether. I do think Trushan is obviously the most likely alternative to the favourite. But I, for one, almost, because I've been sitting here, and he's almost been dismissed. I hope he wins. I love to see history made in these sort of instances, and it'll be a costly result for us, but look, it's a fantastic achievement if he can match what Yates did. So he's our third sort of favourite of the day, so he's involved in our next price boost along with Mo Harfeth and Noon Star. Any 2 of those 3 to win. Was 2-1, now out to 5-2. So if you do like some of those favourites tomorrow, that's the one. But yeah, look, I'm with Stradivarius, and just for me, he's a wonderful horse, and everything that flat racing is lacking, this horse is the opposite of that.
Just to check, David, by the way, if Maharfeth does, for example, pull out, is that bet null and void?
That's a very good question. I'm going to say yes, but I'm saying yes completely on the hoof. So that's a very good point, and I'd love to say that I knew the answer for sure.
Okay, very well. Well,
we'll leave Stevens. Hopeless.
I'll leave you to find that one out. But okay, well, that's the Gold Cup. Then reiterate who wins the Gold Cup.
Tom referred to it as a dour stayer. There's only 2 words in the English dictionary that you associate with dour, don't you? Stayer and Scot. That's it, isn't it? We used to watch the golf. Colin Montgomery, every single article that was ever written about him to describe him, it was like, somewhere in there it would say the dour Scot.
So what we need is we need a Scottish.
We need a dour stayer. I'm going for Trushan, same as Tom.
Trushan it is. Paul Kealy's thought for the day there. Tom, what wins the Gold Cup?
Trushan. Trushan for me, undoubtedly, yeah. I mean, look, if it's fast ground, then he's obviously totally changes the dynamic, and Stradivarius will probably win. But it's a bit of rain around. I think Trushan will win.
Okay, and David, you think Stradivarius? Is that correct?
Yeah, listen, I'm a Stradivarius fan, but Paul, just let you know, you won't be welcome at Ayr anytime in the next 10 years after you've just dismissed a whole nation there. Well done.
Very well. Yeah, I think he'll.
It's not just me that uses it, everybody does.
He's cancelled that holiday. And I'll go for Trushan and also Santiago. I do think will bounce back with a return to Ascot and a return to soft ground. Right, we've got 3 races left. We've got 30 runners in the next. We've got 19 in the penultimate, and we've got 29 in the finale. And these are the kind of races that the punter to my left will be relishing, trying to find a price. And hopefully relishing a horse who doesn't get beaten by 8 lengths on something on the other side. But the favourite for the Britannia, the 3-year-old at mile handicap, is Mithras at 9-2, Air to Air 7s, Radebarg is 7s as well, Horoscope 11s, Liffey River 16s, 18s Emperor Spirit, Beaujardin doesn't go, 20-1 Aryan Power, bigger prices the rest. Tom, I'm going to come to you first. First things first, what wins the Britannia? And I'll give you 2 darts. How's that?
I only need one. Air to Air. Air to Air, hopefully. I mean, this has been my horse for the whole of the Ascot Festival, actually. Plenty short enough now, actually, on what he's achieved. But I was really impressed with him at Doncaster last time. Palamine does the sectionals, and he literally sprinted the last 2 furlongs. A very slowly run race. He came from last to first, and it's a typical Jamie Spencer ride. I think it was sort of a warm-up for the Britannia, sort of sit him out the back and come through late on. I think that's exactly the ride he's going to get. I think he's improving really fast. Trap 8 is clearly not a problem anymore. I don't think it would have been a problem anyway, because I think you'd have been dropped in and come near side anyway and gone for a bit of luck. So I'm keen on him. Of the others, I was very, very close to tipping a horse called Perotto, who keeps stepping up in trip. He was in the form. He ran in the Creative Force race. Then he ran in the first the Jumbie race to Newmarket. Then he went to Goodwood, stepped up to 7 furlongs and flew home. He must have taken 5 lengths out of the rest of the field in the last furlong. He could improve again quite a bit for the step up to a mile. Worry about him is trap 19 in the middle. I don't want him, sitting on the edge of one of those wings. I think you want to be right on the wings. So, but as you say, as Keels has already pointed out, that could all change. So, he was very close. But in the end, I thought, stick to my guns, stick with Air to Air, and move on to the next race.
Okay, there we go. Air to Air then. Who reminds me a bit of Defrocked, who won this for Jamie Osborne and Jamie Spencer a few years ago. Rattled home at Doncaster and then won this from the back. Just the 30 runners here, Paul. Do you want 1, 2, 3 darts?
I've backed a couple. Tom's pretty much made my case for Perotto. Like I said, running good races. Every single line of his form this season is good. He actually flew home at Goodwood last time, having got in trouble as well. So, he was better than the finish. Might not stay, but might do. New Bay, the sire won a French Derby, so there's enough encouragement to think he will. And a bit like Air to Air, he's going to be dropped in anyway. So I wouldn't worry. Hopefully he'll find a way through. The other one I backed is Grid for Joseph O'Brien. Little bit of a shot in the dark, but I just thought it was a case of learning on the job last year. And he was a good fourth to Bolshoi Ballet in one of his maidens. Shaped with a deal of promise, went third in his handicap debut 2 starts ago, then won his maiden. Looks like he's going to stay the trip really, really well. I don't think he'll mind if the ground softens. Got Shamie Heffernan on, and I'll give him a shout as well.
Okay, very well. There's a couple for Paul then here for the Britannia, and I've been following Mithras off a cliff pretty much since his debut last year. I thought he might be a listed or group horse. Could he be the group horse in a handicap? We beat Move in Time, who's a shorter price for a group race later on than this horse is for a handicap. So I'll be fascinated to see if Mithras can get the job done. The Dam placed in Group 1 company on good to soft ground, so he should be fine. And the other one for me was Aryan Power. Similar to you, Tom, the way this horse rattled home at Doncaster, I thought that is a Britannia horse, but that was on fast ground. So I'm certainly worried that he might get scuppered by the rain. But they would be my 2 against the field. Mithras 9-2, Aryan Power at 20s. David, over to you, Father Britannia, 30 runners. First of all, how many places are we aiming for and what has been backed?
I'm just having a look. It looks like we're only going 4 places at the moment, which seems rather... We're obviously expecting a terrible result in the Gold Cup. We'll see if we can get...
You're all running scared of 3-year-olds, basically, aren't you? The whole industry is running scared of 3-year-old races. Ridiculous.
Come
on, shape up.
Mithras favourite there. Keep an eye on him. Obviously, there's an element of obviously the Frankie accumulators factored into these prices for Frankie this week. If he doesn't get off to a flying start tomorrow, Mithras will be bigger, I'm sure. Radarbarg's been back for Roger Varian. That's in 7-1. But I'm with Tom on Air to Air, expecting and hoping for a Jamie Spencer special. Albeit he's now 7-1, was 9-1 earlier today, so continues to shorten all the time. But after the week I've had. You what, Tom?
Worst news ever. You're on it. Look at...
Listen, I can be paid off. I can be paid to back something else.
You've already backed it. You just said so.
Absolutely. Well, taking absolute pelters today, David. This is...
To be fair, the office, I get text messages from the office. We've got a really bad position in a big race. And they'll just say, can you have a couple of quid on this? And it works. I mean, the industry owes me a fortune over the years.
Okay, very well. Tom, your winner of the Britannia?
Air to Air, right down the bottom, Jamie Spencer. Expect him to be on the bridle until the last moment.
Okay, very well. 2 against the field for Keels.
Yeah, Perotto and Grid.
Perotto and Grid, and I'll go for Mithras and Aryan Power then, Father Britannia, as we move on to another fiendish handicap. 19 of them running for the King George V Stakes. Just had to check, I never quite remember which number Monarch it is for these kind of races. But we have an O'Brien and Moore favourite here in the shape of the hat-trick seeking Sir Lamorak at 4-1. 5-1 is First Light, Surefire 15-2, Surrey Gold 8-1, Siskani 10s, Nagano and Tashkan are 11-1, 12-1 Kondo Isami, and bigger prices the rest. You're saying they were running scared of the 3-year-olds, but I think there's 5 places here for you, Keels. So What wins the King George?
Yeah, I've backed a couple. I'm getting ever stronger on Surefire for Rafe Beckett. Just thought he was, I liked the way he ran when he was second to Siskany, first time up at Windsor. Both of them have won since because Surefire won recently. He's only got a £6 penalty and he's gone up 9, so he's actually £3 well in, £8 better off from Siskany for a length. And when he ran at Leicester, it looked like he was struggling to go for the pace for a little while, and then the jockey started riding him along, and then suddenly realised about half a mile out, hang on a minute, I'm going miles better than everything else. Stopped, then went away from him. Everything about him tells you he's going to get a mile and a half and improve for it. And I think he's a very, very well handicapped horse. I mean, like I said, it all depends. I've backed a couple with outside draws because that's what normally happens. And if it doesn't work out that way, then I'm in trouble. But if you look at the past results of this race, we've had 16, 22, 11, 20, 14. Last year Hookham won for 4, but I mean he was a group horse, wasn't he? You know what I mean? So we'll see. But I've gone for him, and the other one was Cos. I can't remember what it's called now. Hondo Isami, that's
Hondo
it.
Isami, there you go.
Hondo Isami. Now he was just beaten by Dancing King, who I think ran well enough in the Queen's Vase today. Didn't get a run on the rail. It was one of those that didn't. Don't think he saw it out particularly well, but I mean he still ran to a fair level. But Hondo Isami probably will appreciate the drop back to a mile and a half for sure. And I still think that was a good line of form. And he's a decent horse. Mark Johnson has won this 5 times, and he's a horse that does go from the front or race prominently. So hopefully, if there's a bit of trouble,
he's very much on the speed at York and just
just kept going and going. Yeah. So I think he could go well for Mark Johnson. Normally hits form in the second half of the week at Royal Ascot, doesn't he? And because obviously the Queen's Vase used to be a little bit later in the week, didn't he? But this
is his race.
This is one of his races. He's won it 5 times.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 against the field then for Keels. Here, 19 of them lining up again. As we saw on the round track, the past couple of days, Tom, that inside draw has been the place to be. But I'm just thinking back to sort of Champions Day last year, and when it went really soft and anything down the rail stopped dead as they turned into the home straight. So that weather is going to play a big part. But what did you think wins the King George as we currently sit here right now?
I went 1 low, 1 high because of, like Keel said, normally you want a high draw because they get all trouble up the rail, but that hasn't been the case this week. So I went stall 1, Tashcan for Brian Ellison. I just thought he should have beaten Kendo Nagasaki or whatever he's called, Kendo Asami, in the York race. It was his first run for Brian Ellison. He got him off Emmett Mullins, and he'd won a race out there very easily, and then he went to Haydock and he absolutely bolted up in a decent race there. I think he's getting better at a rate of knots. I know he's not so well in with Kendo Kodo or whatever he's called this time, but I think he's just improving really fast, and if he can get a run from track 1, I think he's got a massive chance. I really fancy Tashcan to run well, provided there's a bit of rain. There has to be a bit of rain for him, and exactly the same for Surrey Gold, who won at Newbury last time by 7 lengths. Obviously, he's gone up in the weights, but Hughie Morrison, I think he's had the second in this race in 2 of the last 3 years. He's just been a bit of unlucky. Kipps was 1, and then he was second 3 years ago as well. I think Surrey Gold's the right type for the race. I think he's going to hit the line really strongly. I think he'll want a bit further than a mile and a half as the season goes on. But if he can get into it from stall 19, and I really am worried about that, I really am worried about a wide draw, then I think he's going to run really well too. I do have to mention Sir Lamorak because he was faster than Bolshoi Ballet the whole way. They ran on the same day at the start of the season. And he finished faster, the time was faster, everything about it was faster than Bolshoi Ballet. And that's why they were talking of him in Derby terms. Now, my feeling is that he's had an issue because he obviously missed Chester and hasn't been seen since. So whether they've had a clear run with him, I don't know, but he could easily be a different class to these. So I think he's the right favourite, without a shadow of a doubt, Sir Lamorak. But if he has had a problem, I'm quite keen on Tashcan down the bottom and Surrey Gold for Hughie Morrison.
Okay, very well. Tashkent and Surrey Gold then. I'll throw 2 darts here, again, slightly wider draws. Act of Wisdom, who has got quite the knee action and won last year over 10 furlongs on heavy ground. If the rain comes, he's been gelded for Charlie Appleby and James Doyle, and I think he looks really progressive last year in bad ground. And Military Mission as well, who is usually the bridesmaid rather than the bride, but got beat by a good front-running ride at Chester last time out. And again, he's another one who looks like he'll improve for soft ground and a step up in trip. And Hugo Palmer's horses are in very good form, and they should be big prices as well. And Luke Salmon on the social comments is going with First Light. In this, he was absolutely brilliant at Ripon. And First Light currently, been very well backed for the Gosling and Dettori partnership. Again, they do tend to attract money. The story of the market here, David, for the King George V.
Yeah, the market headed by Salamarak there, as Tom said, a worthy favourite. First Light into 5-1. Just to clear up a couple of the others there, Kondo Isami, trained by the far from dour Scott Mark Johnston, he's 12-1. Tashkent is in there at 10-1. The two you like, Ross, Act of Wisdom 22 and Military Mission 20-1. And I'm delighted, well, not as delighted as the boys will be, but I've backed one that no one's mentioned, so you'll be fine. Siskani for Godolphin. He's won 3 in a row, 2 this season. This is a step up in form, but I think earlier on they thought he was perhaps a good deal better than he's actually proved so far, but I'm hoping he's still got plenty of improvement. So Siskani in there at 10-1. So the chaps will be delighted they've not tipped that. But we should mention Lamarak, of course, ridden by Ryan Moore. He's the subject of our final price boost for the evening to ride 2 or more winners tomorrow. Of course, he got on the board today with Love. Was 3-1, but it's now 4-1. Ryan Moore, 2 or more winners on Gold Cup Day.
Okay, 4-1 from 3-1. He does have Cadamosto, Roman Empire, Divinely, Serpentine, Horoscope, Salamarak and Blue Mist in the last. So there is the 5:35. We move on to the last at the Buckingham Palace Stakes. Had a 5 years off from Royal Ascot, but you can't keep a good Ascot 7 furlong handicap down for too long, and 29 of them line up for this year's renewal. Last year's race was dominated by 4-year-olds. You've got a rare 3-year-old in this kind of event, with Al Dari heading the betting at 6-1, Bedouin Story 8s, Boardman 9s, Danya at 10s, Persuasion 11s, Lord Campari 12s, Blue Mist 14s, Volatile Analyst 16-1, and it is bigger prices the rest. Paul, 7 furlong Ascot handicaps. They do tend to breed a few specialists, but we've got quite a few newcomers here. But the 3-year-old favourite was very impressive at the track a couple of
Yeah,
starts
I mean,
ago.
you've got to assume that William Haggas believes that this is his trip. Otherwise, he could have gone into Britannia and run against his own age group, couldn't he? So you'd imagine. So yeah, very impressive. Not so good at Goodwood last time, though, was he?
No.
It was a bit of a worry. They've stuck a tongue tie on. Maybe there is an issue. You don't want to find out in a 30 run a race, do you? I think whatever you back in the race, you have to have a couple of quid on Boardman because he just keeps winning.
He does.
And he keeps winning really easily. 3 starts ago, he absolutely slammed that Fion, who was second today to Lola Shogo in the last. Last time out, I opposed him last time out because I thought there's no way he's gonna get a run. He tends to be a slow breaker, and he was held up at the back at Chester. On a day when not many horses were coming from behind it. He just picked his way through and won as he liked. Edge to Lab, the runner-up, won a race at Epsom on Derby Day. And I thought he won that fairly well as well. It might have only been a neck, but I thought he won that fairly well as well. So, the form is just really, really strong. And he's just it might be 5, but he's just a rapid improver. And he's done it on easy ground as well. It was heavy when he won at Haydock. And he's done it on quicker too. So I don't think, I think you've got to back him. If rain gets into the ground, I'd be quite interested in a horse called Milltown Star from Mick Shannon at a massive price. He's got some good form to his name from younger days in the nursery. He was second to Tom Frey at Newmarket, and Tom Frey just one of the really consistent horses who's in this race and not without a chance. It was also 4 to Cold Stare at Haydock last year. He had a racing post rating of 100 2 starts ago when he was 6 in the Lincoln Trial. I don't think he wants anywhere near as far as a mile and a half a furlong, so I like the drop back and trip for him.
Okay, 2 for Paul then. Tom, what are we backing in the finale?
If I had my time again and knew you could go low, I'd be very interested in the top one, Bedouin Story for Said bin Saror. I think he's in stall 2. When I did this, I wasn't expecting the low numbers to be quite so prevalent as they were, but I think he'll run well. I think the thing about him is he's got Jack's Point in stall 4. I think the best pace might be on the far side. I'm not a great pace and draws man. but that's all I seem to ever talk about. But Jack's Point was second in the race last year. He was first home on his side in the Victoria Cup earlier in the season. He's been trained for this by Tom Clover. I know this has been his plan all season, so I wonder if there might be a slight advantage being on the far side in this race. If that's the case, then I would like Better Win Story. Unfortunately, I've backed Dania from on the other side, and right on the stands rail, Volatile Analyst for Keith Dalgleish. Most interested in the latter one, really. I thought he was really impressive at York last time. It was quite a good race. Pomfrey was in it. That was in it. There were some good horses that had run well in sort of races like this, and he absolutely annihilated them. Thought he was going to win by 20 lengths until he's hung right across the course. He ended up on the far rail on the slower ground. He still won by a length and a half. Gone up a bit in the weights, but he's not going to have that problem because he's drawn right on the stands rail this time. I thought he was going to run really well at a big price. I noticed he's shortening in the market now, probably because he's drawn in track 32, but he would be my one, Volatile Analyst. He's only had 7 runs. As a 2-year-old, he was 4th in the Richmond Stakes at Goodwood. I mean, against Golden Horde and horses like that. He was a proper good 2-year-old. Had a few issues, but came back at York last time and was really impressive. So I think there's more to come from him. He'd be my one, Volatile Analyst.
Okay, yeah, I'm in agreement. I think that form is stronger, but I'd have to back Tom for as well, as he was the only one to make any ground from the back in that race and rattled home to finish second, and he's a proper 7-furlong handicap specialist. Volatile Analyst does have Highfield Princess right next to him, who's a crack front runner. So there's a few selections for the Buckingham Palace. Social comments. The Terminator, once again, he never lets us down, does he? He says, have you seen this boy? No, he says, you've not seen the film. Dania, nap of the day, group horse in a handicap, says the Terminator. There we go. Thank you for that, Arnold. And Stephen Hughes says, I'll bet Blue Mist just so I can swear at the telly when it finds every bit of trouble going. That's true. It normally does. It did go to plan once, and it might go to plan again for Blue Mist, but yeah, he does tend to find trouble in a Buddhist monastery, bless him. The Buckingham Palace Stakes then, David, the finale of day 3, a very tough race. We're already overrunning a little bit, so tell us what wins the race and what's the story of the market?
6 places each way in the lucky last tomorrow. I'm sticking with Al Dari. I backed him earlier in the week. He's a shorter price now. Wouldn't want too much more rain. He was giving lumps away to the 2 that beat him at Goodwood. Didn't pan out for him that race that day, but keeping the faith, hoping the decision to run him here pays off. So, yeah, Al Dari currently 6-1 favourite.
Okay, Al Dari then. It is at Ascot. That brings us to the end of our 7 races for tomorrow then. But we can't let you go without giving the naps from the studio. Tom, I'll come to you first. What is nap of day 3?
Well, I'm hoping Wesley Ward gets wiped out again in the first race, and I'll go for Project Dante in the first race for Norfolk.
Very well. Project Dante for Brian Smart in the first. Paul?
Yeah, just in case you hadn't been paying attention, it is one ruler in the 305.
Absolutely, one ruler then in the 305. A fantastic case made for that one. I'll stick with my old friend Mithras. If he is a group horse in a handicap, he should be winning the Britannia. David, what is your nap?
Siskani in the George V.
There we go. And Siskani for David Stevens of Coral. So good luck with your selections. We're back again tomorrow night, of course, so do join us for that. Like, subscribe, get involved as well. It is live and interactive. And of course, don't forget, please gamble responsibly, especially as that rain's going to come and really mess with those markets. This has been In the Know. I've been Ross Brierley. You've been wonderful. See you tomorrow.